Good evening. Thank you for coming. As always, we'll start with a prayer. If you join me. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together tonight. And we pray for you to bless our country, our state, and our community. And I pray that not that I or we would be on your side, but for the guidance and the wisdom to be on your side. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Again, thank you for coming out. We'll go now to the pledge. If you would, join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rick, where are you, buddy? Oh, I'm sorry. Rick's going to, well, you tell him.
I am going to recite the Republican Creed. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and build, to fail and succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to guaranteed security, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, to face the whole world boldly and say, I am a free American.
Thank you. We are the Pickens County Town Hall Republican Club. We are an auxiliary of the South Carolina Republican Party. What you see here tonight is what we do. This is all we do. Our club is dedicated to facilitating a relationship between elected officials and their constituents, and to give you an opportunity to see them in a forum like this and ask them questions and try to understand what's going on with your elected official. Like I said, have some kind of a relationship rather than just a mailer in your mailbox or something along those lines. You know, something that's very impersonal. And that's why I keep saying I appreciate you folks coming out, because I'm assuming you want that kind of a relationship. So, I mean, it's kind of hard for somebody to be your elected official if they don't hear from you and you don't know what you expect or what you want. So thank you for coming out and being a part of this. Now, is there any other elected officials here tonight besides our two gentlemen at the front of the room? We have a school board member right here. Stand up and tell them who you are. Yeah. Are you still the chairman of the board? Okay. Yes. Thank you for coming out, Carla. Donna? She is my representative on city council. Anybody else that we don't want to miss anyone? Okay. The rules, if you want to call it that, guidelines, rules for what we're going to do tonight. The basic rule is just be respectful and civil. You know, you're allowed to ask anything you want, just be nice about it. Try to keep your questions short and to the point as much as possible. And these gentlemen are state representatives, so asking them about something in Washington, D.C. is kind of out of place here. If you want to know something, this is about state government. Phillip represents a district in the House. Senator Rice represents almost all of Pickens County except a little piece down in Clemson. So anyway, my point is, make it relevant. You know, something to do with the state government would be appreciated. Other than that, let me introduce these two guys. to you. Senator Rice, as of the information I found, as of April of 24, Senator Rice serves on the Corrections and Penology Committee, the Education Committee, the Judiciary Committee, the Labor, Commerce and Industry Committee, and the Transportation Committee. You're a busy fella.
Close. Well, you're close.
I'm sorry. It's close. Representative Bowers, this is his first, was just elected last November, and he is currently on the House Education and Public Works and the Legislative Oversight Committee. But before his election to the state legislature, Representative Bowers served on the Pickens County School Board, the State Board of Education, and Education Oversight Committee, and he was the chairman of the Pickens County Republican Party. I know this real well because I served as his vice chairman, and when he left, I was elected three times in a row after him to his chairman. So he kind of showed me the ropes to being the chairman. Must have worked. I'm still standing up here. Yeah, I know the feeling. Anyway, with all of that said, thank you both for coming out. Philip and I have done this many times together over the years, and Rex has never refused when I asked him, as long as we can work out the schedule when he's available. He has never refused. He's always said yes to coming and speaking and answering questions. So thank you for that, and for all the years of your kind participation in all these things I've done. We've done at least a half a dozen together. So with all of that, I'll kick it to Rex and let him introduce himself and tell you whatever he wants to. And then when he's done, Philip will do it. And when they're done, I'll come around with a microphone. And when I get to you with your question, just tell us who you are and where you're from. I mean, not your home address, but, generally where you're from in the county, and ask your question. Rex?
I won't turn that on, but I'm afraid we're going to get feedback between the two mics. Okay, I'm gonna try. Yeah, thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Thank you, Rick, for everything you've done over the years. I've appreciated what you've done. Just a point of clarification: the 5 committees you listed, one of them was Judiciary. I have moved off of Judiciary, and I'm now on the Senate Finance Committee. Other than that, they were all correct. That being said, we've got tort reform coming up, or lawsuit reform coming up this week. And so I've got a pretty good handle on it. I'm a sponsor on the bill. There's probably a lot of stuff that we're going to deal with, changes that may come up on the tort reform bill this week. I know there may be some of you in here that have questions on that, but that's a good bill. It's a needed bill. I'm a sponsor of it. If any of you have gotten an email in the last 2 weeks with my name on it, or some of the other stuff, the trial lawyers have actually set up a group called Reform Insurance Now, I believe, or Reform SC Insurance Now. And the trial lawyers actually bought that domain, or whatever you want to call it, and used it to send it out to say that we're trying to feed the insurance companies. And so it's a very misleading piece. It is a great piece if you're a trial lawyer and you're trying to confuse the public. I'll have to, compliment them on the way they have handled that. But anyway, we are obviously just starting out in our 2025. We've got 30, and I'm going to give just kind of brief overview, then we'll open up for questions after Philip gets in there, because Philip has hit the ground running. He is a freshman House member. He found the bathrooms the second day down there. He found his car in the 3-level parking garage the third day down there. But he is now chairman of the Pickens County delegation. So he's hit it great. He's watched us for so many years. He's done pretty good at it. But we've got in the Senate, we've got 13 new members. And we had some members that I hate to say this, but quite honestly, I'm glad they're gone, because they were holding us up on stuff such as tort reform that I just mentioned a minute ago. We now have 34 Republican members. There's 12 Democrats, And I'm very proud of the Democrats because they have learned that they can count, and they realize that 34 beats 12 any day of the week. So they literally, the first week of session, I bet I heard them say that. The Democrats, and these freshman Democrats are pretty sharp, actually, believe it or not. But I bet I heard them say it half a dozen or a dozen times, that we know how to count, and we know that you, as the 34 Republicans, are going to control your agenda going forward, and we need to at least try to work with you to make sure we do a good job here, and we don't just beat you up all the time. And the new rules that we passed this year have actually helped us move some legislation forward. It's there's one rule in there that says if you're a chairman of a committee, and the Senate is a little different than the House because we work on seniority. So the most senior member on a committee in the majority party gets to be the chairman. Well, now the chairman of that party, that chairman of that committee can be removed by Senator Alexander and Shane Massey, who is the majority leader, if they're not doing their job. So if they're sitting there stalling on legislation that we need to move forward on, and we've told them to move forward, they can actually have their assignment taken away. We've got several bills, and I'm going to try to go over them real quick here. Just stuff that we jumped in there and got we moved forward on. One of them is a school choice bill that we've got. The courts ruled against us on that. I don't know if y'all remember that, but we had about 3,000 or 4,000 low-income families that got the opportunity to have the money follow the child and go to a different school. The courts ruled against us on that, so we had to go back and use the lottery money because the state constitution, if you use general fund money to fund that, it's against the Constitution. So we're using lottery money to fund that. We've got that. We've got a Senate 28 is a dealing with children. AI, if I say AI, do y'all know what that means? A year ago, if I'd have said AI, I don't know if I'd have known what that means. It has come along quick, but you can take a child's face and put a body on that child and literally make it look like it's the child from next door. And if somebody is doing that and distributing that material out, we've made that a felony. So you're going to go to jail over that. So it's just we call it child abuse, but that is an issue. Fentanyl, distributing fentanyl, and it causes a death. That's murder. Now these are bills we've jumped on this year. We just passed S2 last week, which is it's combining mental health, the drug abuse, and DDSN, those three agencies into one. So it's reform. It's trying to improve our efficiencies because all of those agencies are not as effective as they should. So we put them all together. And then I'll be glad to talk about the tort reform. We've got that coming up on the floor this week. If you ask me next Monday, if I was sitting here next Monday, I could probably tell you a lot more about it. I can tell you a lot about it now, but we're going to debate it. The tort reform bill, as introduced, is now what we're going to be on the floor with. Usually the committee makes changes on bills, and then once it comes to the floor, it's kind of been vetted out. It's been vetted a lot. When I say vetted, discussed, had a lot of testimony on it. One of the things that was, and I mentioned a minute ago, the bill or the advertisement the trial lawyers are doing. One of the things they're trying to say is the insurance companies are making a lot of money. The average insurance company in the state makes 5% profit, which is really, in my opinion, is not that bad. It's actually very low compared to what I thought it would be. If they're going to make less than that, they're going to leave the state. If they leave the state, there's less competition. I hate insurance companies. I think everybody in here probably hates them because I don't like writing checks to them. But when you need them, you need them. If you've had a settlement, you feel like you didn't get what you should have gotten. But the more the settlement, the more frivolous lawsuits we have, the more outrageous lawsuits we have. And you see that, you can't tell me that they're not there, because if you watch TV at night, you're going to see all the advertisements. So the high settlements, the ridiculous settlements, that all comes back to us, and it's paid in the way of premiums. So with that, Philip, I'm going to turn it over to you and see if you can get us in trouble.
I will try not to do that. Thank you, Rex. Like Rick said, I've only been in the House for a few months now, but I enjoy it. It's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. Education and Public Works is a very busy committee. As you can imagine, we do all of education, K-12 through higher ed, and we also have basically anything that moves. Planes, trains, automobiles, roads, airports. So it's we have a lot of stuff going on there. And the other committee I'm on is relatively new. I heard it was just formed in 2017, the Oversight Committee. Do you know that was about? It's fairly new, but what the law that was passed that set up this committee dictates that every 7 years, every agency in the state will have basically an audit or review. So those agencies right now, we're doing the tuition grants program, or my subcommittee is doing tuition grants, and the State Department of Education. So we started on tuition grants last week. We had our first meeting. I don't know when we're going to start on the Education Committee, but you can imagine going through years of information about those committees or about those agencies. It'll be fun, but it's a lot of work. But I'm looking forward to it. And I don't really have anything to add on legislation. I didn't really come prepared to talk a whole lot. I wanted to listen. I got my notepad. I have a whole list of things I'm working on, and this week we'll have committees, and it's Clemson Day for any Clemson fans who'd like to come down. Wednesday's Clemson Day in the House, so and then next week starts Budget Week. So I understand that it's pretty much nothing but numbers starting next Tuesday, and sometimes they stay into the night working on it. So it's fine with me. We'll do whatever it takes to get the budget right.
Philip, I tell you what, I'm proud to have you on the delegation, because I don't think we have anybody else that wants to listen. They just want to talk.
That's what I'm talking.
I'm not going to throw everybody under the bus, but a politician that says all I want to do is listen, that's a good politician.
It's a good politician. Yeah, I've had a lot of practice on that. But the delegation chairperson, it was my predecessor's turn, and I just assumed that since I was new that they would pass over me this time, and it would go to someone else. And they said, "Oh no, it doesn't matter. You got to do it." So I'm delegation chairman, and we've had some issues. Rex and I have been in meetings just about every week about a particular problem in the county that's going on that we're trying to get to the bottom of. We've met in the last 2 or 3 Fridays, I think, and maybe we threw a Monday in there, and then the rest of the week we're in Columbia. So it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it, and it's all stuff that needs to be done, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve. And I represent the Clemson. I don't think you told them. I represent the Clemson, Central, and the 6 Mile area. We have basically 3 representatives in the county. Davey Hyatt does Pickens and Liberty, basically, and then Neil Collins has Easley, Daconsville, sort of. So we each
let me say to
we
that,
each have about 41,000, represent about 41,000 people. Go ahead.
and I do not have the Clemson area in the county, but I do go into Greenville County. If you know where the Swamp Rabbit Trail is, if you're going to Cherrydale on 253 and 183, that goes through Berea. I go all the way over to Greenville County now, and I did not represent that area until this year. So
That's the same area that I turned this microphone down, so y'all don't have to worry about it biting you. That same area Neil picked up in his district too, pretty much.
it's
right?
similar.
Similar.
It's actually when I was in the House, because I served 16 years in the House until 2010. And matter of fact, you mentioned the Oversight Committee. I kept introducing a bill, it's called Sunset Bill, that would actually require an audit in the sunset agencies unless they were reauthorized. It took 12 years to cycle them.
Okay.
And so if you say y'all are doing it in 8 now?
7 years.
Every 7 years. So they got excited about it. But
Well, thank you both. One little thing before I start, just one, won't take but a second. To help me advertise these things and get the word out, I'd like to know, I'll ask you a couple of questions, just raise your hand as to how you found out. If you found out about the meeting tonight from Facebook, throw a hand up. Okay, if you found out with an email, okay, how about from a friend just telling you? How did you find out? You didn't raise your hand. I didn't, or did you? Yeah, from a friend? Okay. All right. So Facebook and emails both seem to help and work. So, all right, raise a hand. Who wants to ask a question? This lady told me before we started she had questions. And if you would, the only thing I didn't say was, here's your pen. Ask one, and then we'll go to somebody else, and then we'll run out of questions. We'll come back to you. Okay, give everybody a fair shot. Okay, just introduce yourself.
I'm Olivia Fowler. I live in Rice's Creek community with a Liberty address. That's in Pickens County. I wanted to commend both of you for taking the time to come, and it sounds like you're both very sincere trying to carry out your responsibilities. I appreciate that. My concerns are about, is there any preparation being made in the state at the state level to compensate if some of the cuts coming down from the federal government actually are made? I know that 15.2% of South Carolina's education budget comes from the federal government. And, you know, that's concerning because I don't know how we would compensate for that. Also, 4 out of 9 children in the state get their medical services through Medicaid. 5 out of 8 senior citizens who are in nursing homes are there because Medicaid makes that happen. And also, let's see, veterans. About 36% of South Carolina veterans with disabilities depend on Medicaid. I know that Medicaid was not extended when that was an option some years ago. So I know the state is probably concerned about some of these needs. Of all of these needs, I think my major concern would be how education in our state would be affected. Also, you know, we all know people who have relatives who are in nursing homes or who have children or veterans in their families who have disabilities. And this is a huge burden that's going to hit the states if it happens. I know that it hasn't happened yet, but should it happen, what on earth, how will y'all deal with this? Because I have no idea.
Let me say this first. You say, are we making plans for it? We don't have line items in the budget. We're doing the finance right now. We do not have line items in the budget to deal with cuts from Washington per se. I do believe that what Washington will do, I think they will cut out programs that don't need to be run. And there are, you've heard a list of them. I don't have to, if you watch the news for the last 30 days, you know what I'm talking about. If they shut down the Department of Education, I noticed the president just got his conferee confirmed today on that. I don't see them shutting down the Department of Education like you think they might. And when I say that, I think they're going to block grant the money back to the states. And I believe they're going to give us the freedom to do what we need to do without the strings attached. So I foresee that as actually being a positive instead of a negative. Even if they cut a portion of that out, that'll give us more free spending money. When I say it's not free money, but it's freedom to do with the money that's coming down, because it's our money coming back from Washington. It's our tax money. And I think that we can deal with that. I think we will deal with that. I don't foresee that, the Medicaid cuts and all that. I don't see that. Now, we did not do the Medicaid expansion, and that's what you were referring to. And that's just because we feel like that's more, once you expand it, then it's more unfunded mandates. And you could expand it a lot and still cover a lot of people and then still have a lot of people not covered. We talked about that, and Philip mentioned a minute ago, dealing with an agency, DDSN. the Pickens County, I mean, they've got children and adult children on the waiting list that need services. That number is 18 to 20,000. I don't remember the exact number. You may, but there's a lot of people that need services that don't get them. But there again, I think that we've got to step up as a country and as a state and a county and try to help these people out, and not just and because you've got aging parents that have adult children that need help, and somebody's got to help them out. And the government's one place to go, but then there's also other opportunities out there that we as individuals need to step up and help. Phil, you want to jump on that a little bit?
Really don't have a lot to add. The Medicaid thing was before my time, so I don't know all the ins and outs there. But I would like to go back to the 15% federal money for education. It would suit me if they cut it all out today. I would prefer not to have any federal money for our educational system. Most of the money we get from the feds goes for food programs. The last account I had was 9% goes to just food programs. I had a conversation last week with Patrick Haddon. I don't know if you know him or not, Rick, but he was chairman of the Greenville County Republican Party years ago, and he's on the Ag Committee, and they're working with the Secretary of Agriculture to develop a program where we use our own food, so we don't have to take federal dollars and all the strings that are attached with it to feed our kids in the school. We have plenty of farmers here that would love to provide food to our schools, but we can't because of all the federal strings attached. Because if they send you the money, you got to do everything they say. It's got to be this vendor and this particular dietary lineup. So it wouldn't hurt my feelings a bit if they just kept all their education money. We'll get it back in block grants probably, and we'll deal with it. I think that's all I wanted to say. Did you used to write for the Courier or do you write for the newspaper? Okay, because I recognize Olivia. I said, I know Olivia Fowler. I like to read your stuff. I hate that you don't. You do a good job. Well, I'm probably the only person in the county that still reads newspapers. Thank you.
I got a little, before I go to the next person, that made me think of something when you were talking about the block grants. Just for a second, assume that we go to block grants and they take all the strings off of it, and the state is allowed to do what it wants to, what the state representative thinks is best to do with the money. Would the state constitution allow that money to go towards school choice, real school choice, where the money follows the child? Or is it just general fund money?
I'm a ditch digger by trade. I am not an attorney.
I'm truck driver by
I hate to give legal advice right here in front of the camera, but I would think that the block grants could be used in such a way that we could go to universal school choice and still survive the courts. Let's put it that way.
I got one other thing I want to throw in here on Phillip, and well, both of you, either of you, on the school choice thing. I read somewhere that because of the school choice program last year, Pickens County lost $611,000, and it was spent on computers or something. And I think you disputed that and said you didn't disagree with it. But would you like to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. The House version of the education choice bill is a little different than the Senate version. We're going to send it back to you, and I guess we'll work on it some more. But
Send it back and we'll fix
maybe. But we used. There was $30 million left. It's $75 million. That's all we're spending on this initial choice bill. And I say only 75 million because anybody want to take a guess how many billion we spent on education in South Carolina? Wild guess? 14 billion. $14 billion we spend on education in the state. And there was quite a dust up over the 75 million we wanted to spend on the choice program. So we got 30 million was carryover money from last year that wasn't used, 30 million from general fund, which is new money. It's not taking money away from the schools. It's not money that it could have gone to schools, but we chose to put it in the choice program. But it's not we're not taking any money from the schools for the choice program. The other 15 million is it's one-time money for startup or non-recurring money. In other words, it's here this year. It may not be here next year, but the 60 million is recurring dollars. So we're not hurting. I guess was that your question, Rick? Are we hurting public schools with this bill? No, we're not. Does that help you?
Yeah, I was just wondering if I saw the $611,000 that Pickens County lost because of it, and it's going to be $885,000 next year.
Yeah, I don't know.
I am a big school choice advocate. That's what got me into politics to begin with, school choice.
I don't know where the individual came up with that money, because I took that when I saw that note, I went straight to the my chairman of Education Public Works, Shannon Erickson, and asked her. I said, is this bill, before we vote tomorrow, is this bill going to take money from my school district? And she said, absolutely not. So I'm going off the information I was told.
We're going to let another school board member in the door. She can't get in over there. That's all right. This is Amy Williams. She's also on the school board.
Ooh, we can start now. Amy's here.
She's not usually late. She's usually early. Okay. Does somebody else have a question? Yes, ma'am. Please introduce yourself.
My name's Kathleen Campbell. I live in Pickens, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be able to speak to you guys. Just recently, the several groups have collaborated. You guys have been receiving an email about once a month. The Pickens County Republican Party, the town hall here, the Republican Club, Moms for Liberty, and Conservatives of the Upstate have all partnered together wanting to ask our representatives one question a month. You guys got that question. You answered it last month. We appreciate that. And I just wanted to, I'm really excited about this collaboration, for one thing. But the question this month is on the bill H 3537, the South Carolina Prenatal Equal Protection Act, and defines a person to include an unborn child. And the question was, and since you guys didn't answer, I thought I could get you guys to answer tonight. And I'll just jot it down maybe. Do you support this bill, 3537H? I think there's a companion bill. And do you support abortion? Why or why not? And do you support funding for abortion facilities, including funding as a part of the general budget? And what specifically are you doing to achieve your stated position?
Well, that's a House bill, so I'll start first. The last part about the Planned Parenthood, no, I do not support funding for Planned Parenthood. The first part about the bill, I don't know all the bills by heart, but there are a couple bills on abortion in the House. One of them does not protect the mother's life like I would like. I'm pro-life, and I'm fine with it conception, but it first has to protect the mother's life. And there are certain situations where abortion, there's no other choice. And I don't have the bill in front of me. Is that the Freedom Caucus bill by chance? Who's the sponsor? That's not McCravy's. Yeah. Oh, it's much better. Yeah, I think that's the Freedom Caucus bill, and it is. Yeah, and it's just too broad. To answer your question, I do not support that bill if it's the one I'm thinking about. I do support McCravy's bill because if you pull that bill up, it protects the mother's life. That was, and that's why I haven't signed on to it because it could change dramatically between now and then. When it gets to the floor, if it protects the mother and gives those exceptions for for those fetal anomalies, and they're listed in there if you want to pull up the bill. But there are a lot of fetal anomalies. Mr. Representative McCravey talked to gynecologists. He spent tons of hours before he introduced that bill. So I support Mr. McCravey's bill. If that's the bill I'm thinking about, I don't support it. Okay. I don't know what the Senate's got.
To budget, if money to Planned Parenthood would be in the budget.
I would hope that would be taken out. I don't know. Depends. It's always been in there. I don't know. I'll have to dig into that. I have a meeting with a budget expert tomorrow to get some more details on that. But I don't know that I would throw out. I don't know about throwing out the whole budget. You said you would expect me just to not vote at all if one little thing in there is. You just ask. You're not saying. I don't know. I'd have to look at that. But if there were a couple of things, if we had a good budget overall, like Ronald Reagan said, if you're 80% with me, you're my friend. So if it's 80-90%, I probably would not throw out the whole budget. Of course, it'll win. We have a supermajority in the House as well, so it's probably going to pass, whether I vote for it or against it. But that's about all I know. Do you know any more about the abortion bill?
I'm going to say this. There's a similar bill that Richard Cash has introduced in the Senate. I am planning on signing on that bill with him. And I think Richard probably does as good a job as anybody with the let's eliminate abortion. And I'm going to use that term because I do not want to support abortion in any way. You ask about the budget as a whole. And y'all do the same thing. You haven't been there, but we vote by sections in the budget. So you can vote against that section. And there's usually 5 or 6 sections that I'll vote against in the budget, somewhere in that 4 to 6 that I will vote against if I believe there's any money in there whatsoever for abortion. And I have voted historically for the budget as a whole, with the exception of those sections. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, now the way I understand it, you go through these sections and you vote. That's why we stay all night sometimes, as I understand it, or a couple of nights. And you work through all these sections. But then in the end, you got to vote for the whole budget, right? In the end.
That's right.
But you would be on record, like if you wanted to be on record, if it's important to you, being on record voting against Planned Parenthood. I didn't know that they would pull it out to that level of detail, but if they do.
They actually did, and I don't know what the House does. We simplified it in the Senate because we've got we got literally a bunch of documents that list every section, and you go in there and vote for or against, and then you call out. You do a roll call vote on how you voted, and then turn that in.
Sure.
Hold on. I can't hear you we're recording this and won't be able to hear you on the tape anyway, just introduce yourself and ask whatever you'd like.
My name's Tabitha. I live in Pickens. I'm whether someone's for or against abortion, I don't understand what your problem is with Planned Parenthood. I'm from Arizona, so maybe we know about Planned Parenthood and what they do more than a lot of Southerners. I'm not sure, but they provide so much more than just abortion. So when you're talking about community health and things that are good for your community, where would someone who may be indigent or lacking medical resources go for STI or anything that would be remotely, I was going to say in the sexual realm, but it's not really even that. It's actually physical health. Where would someone go for all that? And do people actually know where that? Because we always kind of knew Planned Parenthood's where you could go for that kind of help, reproductive help or services, not just abortion. So I'm kind of upset that you just flat out, you hear Planned Parenthood and you think it's a bad thing, and it really isn't. So, but where would someone go for that type of care? For STIs or cancer? Exactly.
Well, eh, I'm just an old school Republican who believes in individual accountability and responsibility. Um, okay, well, that's my answer. Thank you. Thank you.
I can
That's my answer.
let me say this. I'm a father, and when my wife became pregnant, everybody she had a gynecologist and we had a pediatrician and the whole bit. But everybody that I knew at the time said, if you want the best care, go to the free clinic over at the Greenville Hospital System. Absolutely free. Anybody can walk in there and you can get any kind, unless something's changed. And my daughter's 32, so something could have changed. So I'm not completely up to date with my information. But when my daughter was born, everybody told me that we knew that the best care you could get was at that free clinic. And they do everything you just named. And you can go in there and get that. And it's not,
It's a medical clinic. They don't know anyone that's called. They don't even know about medical clinic. If they have a community clinic that they can walk to, that's where Planned
Can I ask this question? Let me ask you this question. Where's Planned Parenthood in Pickens County? Where is Samaritan Health in Pickens County? Well, my wife serves on the board of Samaritan Health.
That they maybe that your only reason that you would want to swing them from any type of pain. Them or any other clinic offers.
Well, the context of the question was around abortion, and I would not support Planned Parenthood if that's in that context. That's what we're talking about. If there are other things they do, I don't know, but I know one thing that I support right to life, but I want the mother's life protected and several other things that are in the McCravey bill. The Planned Parenthood, they provide abortion services. I know that.
excuse me,
The context of the question was
but this
abortion.
is not a debate. This is to ask a question and then listen. So, got a question over here on this side. You can ask a question.
My name is Henry. My name is Henry Copeland. I'm from Clemson. I know from firsthand experience that the state legislature a number of years ago cut funding for the local county health departments, thereby defaulting to Planned Parenthood on some of the very things that they were talking about that had nothing to do with abortion. And as long as Planned Parenthood was able to fill the gap, it was able to do it in an objective manner. How would you see this not to be a further cutting away of services that would be of assistance to local counties, like just general health, as the Planned Parenthood offices are set up to be able to respond to? Great, a free clinic in Greenville, but transportation is an issue. And I think that they need to have flexibility and availability in each county. What do you intend to do to support that?
Make a statement. Like I said, the question she asked was in the context of abortion. I do not support abortion.
Lives fill a gap was created when the legislature a number of years ago pulled back from the county health.
Yeah, I don't have any information on that. I can't answer your question.
You're making a general statement without the facts. I'd be glad to sit down with you and let's go over the facts. But the bottom line is we've got Samaritan Health right here. We got a free clinic right here in Pickens County. Support them with your pocketbook. I do. So that's one way to deal with it. I would love to hear I'd like to sit and look at the details. I'll do that with anybody in here. I will sit down and look at the details on any issue you have. My cell phone is listed on the internet. You're welcome to call me and have a meeting, and we may or may not agree in the end, but I will definitely listen to you, and Philip will too. I mean, that's what we're here for.
I'll come sit down with you.
Here, let me give you the mic, Bonnie, so it'll be on the tape on the recording.
I just wanted to add a little bit of information about services that are available for women for free at Piedmont Women's Center in Greenville. They provide all of the women's health services, mammograms, pap smears, STD testing, pregnancy advice. They do not do abortions, and every service that they offer is free. So there are resources for women's health that are free. Just so that for the record, everybody knows that. This is a town hall. We need to ask a lot of questions. And if we can just put that subject to bed and move on to other questions, that would be great.
Can I add on to that? There is another facility that's right there where Rice Road comes out on Highway 8, and I cannot think. I've written a check to them. I can't think of the name of them though right now. And the what? Hope Women's. That they're there also. So there's opportunities there.
And I don't mean this to sound flippant at all. I'm not being sarcastic or mean or anything, but maybe we could somebody needs to start a nonprofit, Uber for pregnant ladies or Uber for women's health, so they can get an Uber and get to, if they need transportation. I mean, I was just off the top of my head. So is there another question here? Ladies first. All right. I'll come right to you.
Hi, I'm Dawn. I live here in Easley, and my question is for Rex, of course. Rex, you just recently signed on to Bill Senate 264, which is an annexation bill. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on what that bill is going to consist of? And am I reading it correctly? It's more about closing up the donut holes. Is that what it's about?
I need to look at that bill. And when you say closing up the donut hole,
It's here that in, wait a minute, I'm old, so let me get my glasses on.
who's the sponsor on that bill?
Peeler.
Okay, I believe that bill is actually saying they can't close the donut hole.
Is
It's-
that what it's
an ag
trying
bill.
to say?
It's an ag
very
bill. In other
loose.
words, if I've got
264.
20 acres in the middle of the city that I'm farming,
Yeah.
that they can't come in there and mandate that I bring that into the city, that I get to keep that in my ag rating.
Right.
That's the bill I think I signed on. But if I'm wrong, I'll be glad to back up and look. But it's not eliminating donut holes; it's maintaining donut holes when they're used in the and no forced annexation is what that's all about.
So is this going to be amended in any way to make annexation less accessible to developers, or is this just going to stay the way it is?
That bill, let me
What was the number?
264.
let me give you a general statement. It is very rare that any piece of legislation goes through without some kind of an amendment on it. So I can't tell you what it's going to be amended to, but I do know the intent of what I believe I signed on was to protect people's rights and keep them from being forced into a situation of coming into the city when they don't want to do that.
Okay. Do you think this bill will go through, or do you think that it's just going to sit there and die?
Well, you got the chairman of the finance committee, who's number one on the Senate tag. It's got a chance of going through.
Okay. Do you see it hitting committee, or is it just going to pass? How do you?
No, it should go to committee. I'm trying to remember what committee it's in. Are you looking at the bill?
Agreement of the owner. I guess in other words,
Is it not in finance committee? Look at the bottom down there.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me.
since second
Yeah.
reading is introduced, read a
To what?
2-7 and went to third reading of simple house.
Yeah, we've already passed it. That's what I thought. We've already passed it. It's all about them.
Yeah.
No, we passed it in the Senate. And you remember, we're early in the session. So, yeah.
If that's 44-0, it must be popular.
I can't keep up with all of it in my head. I know what I'm doing when I'm trying to do it, but I can't tell you what I did yesterday. Over that one, over and above that one. I think it's a possibility. I think y'all got an annexation bill over there that
There is a, it's kind of related, but there's a concurrent but there's another word that goes with it. Basically, concurrent development. In other words, if a developer comes in, wants to put 1,000 houses in, um, they have to concurrently develop the infrastructure to support it. And there's some precedent for that. And I think it's, do you know where Representative Bustos is from? Is he from, excuse me? Mount Pleasant. I had a good conversation with him about that because we were just talking at some event, and I told him about our our growth and the problems we're having from our growth, and we move people in, and then we maybe, hopefully, possibly sometime we fix the roads to match the number of people that moved in. And he told me that Mount Pleasant actually put an ordinance in to require developers, before they broke ground, to study the infrastructure thoroughly and come up with a plan to get the infrastructure in place concurrent with the development. And he said the developers fought the city, actually took them to court, and it went round and round in the courtroom, and finally the city won, and they were able to do this concurrent development. So, and a friend of mine, Blake Sanders, he's from Anderson. He was the mayor of West Pelzer.
West Pelzer.
West Pelzer, yeah. So he's in the House now, and he actually sponsored the bill, and he has some experience in that area. So maybe that'll help. I've said for a long time, the development. I hope I don't offend any developers, but they come in, they develop property, they take the money and run, and then the taxpayers, you and I, everybody in this room, we're stuck with trying to fix the roads and fix the schools and fix the fire departments and all the other things to support the development. And the guy who developed the land's long gone to Florida, living in a high rise in Miami or wherever. So just thought I'd throw that in.
We got about 8 minutes because he's got to hit the road.
Okay.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. If there's other questions, I don't mind.
Okay, Diane.
I'm Diane Hardy. I'm the executive director of the Mom and Pop Alliance, a statewide small business advocacy
Hello,
group.
Diane.
Hey, I'm not in Pickens, but I know a lot of people in Pickens, so I'm technically in Anderson County. But I did want to ask if that's okay. First of all, I want to thank Rex. This bill he's talking about, this tort reform bill, is huge. We are having a press conference with the governor this Wednesday, and the trial attorneys are putting a lot of stuff out there that's going to cause confusion. But we have studied the bill inside out, and we're on board with it. So thank you, Rex, for that. And I just want to ask, I guess you don't know, but do you think there's more of an appetite now with all of this DOGE stuff? I don't see us doing a DOGE in South Carolina at this time with our current leadership, but do you think there will be more of an appetite to actually look more at these budgets instead of just always rubber stamping them? I guess do you have any idea? I guess it's hard to tell as a freshman, but.
Yeah, I've long advocated for zero-based budgeting, and really that's all DOGE is. It looks at the program. Is it something worthwhile? Okay, well, let's keep doing it. If something needs to change, let's change it. And that's why I volunteered. And I was told when I asked Davey about this legislative oversight, I said, man, that sounds really interesting to go in and really dig into these agencies and see what's really going on, kind of like a DOGE, It was DOGE before there was DOGE. And he said, well, you'll learn a lot, but it's a hard committee. And he said everyone who's ever volunteered for it wanted off of it. So, but I'm looking forward to it, and I don't mind spending the time on it. But if we do a good job at that, I'll give you an example. This week, an agency we looked at, the folks who actually run the program benefit almost not exclusively, but they get a great deal of income from the program. So basically, the board of directors are deciding what goes on with tax dollars that feed into their organizations. And I told them, right, you can look at the video if you want to, because I told the chairman, I said, this is a very unusual oversight structure. So I don't know how much of that's going on in the state, but we're going to have to stay after it. There are a lot of us down there that are kind of new, and we're asking a lot of questions. And the establishment, Speaker Smith gets a lot of grief a lot of times, but he's been very good as far as I can tell. He's a conservative. He's probably not as conservative as I am, but he listens. He's been very helpful to me, and I think that with time, we can change some things, but it'll be a slow process. I think Rex wants
On that issue? Okay. I was just going to try to follow up on what Phillip just said. We do have a DOGE bill that it's made up of non-legislators, whereas the Oversight Committee is made up of legislators mostly, or all legislators. It's a 9-member committee that would be 3 appointed by the Senate, 3 appointed by the House, and 3 by the governor, that would be doing an outside look without political influence.
My question is, would it be different than what's going on at the national level? Would they would be there in a role of being a consultant or an advisor, and would they have knowledge and experience in the areas that they're being asked to look at, instead of this loose cannon approach of going in and cutting numbers rather than considering function of what these people in these different agencies actually do?
In the DOGE bill that I'm talking about, yes. It would be people. Now, these people would be appointed. And just for example, if you had somebody that was an expert in IT is a big problem. Every agency comes in and they're asking for money in IT to try to patch their systems. We need to look at a total overhaul. So, just for example, I know of an individual that be a good member on that DOGE bill that could be appointed by the governor, be appointed by the Senate or the House. But you need to look at, if you're going to have 9 members on there, you need to have them from different walks of life, to where they would look at it. They'd be outside of political influence, and they would be making recommendations back. They would not have the authority to cut on the spot. And I think that's where you're coming from. But they would make recommendations back that we would have to act on.
Yes, the legislature would have to act on it,
That's
not
correct.
some random person who doesn't know what they're doing.
The legislature would have to take action. The governor could write an executive order doing something in a situation of an emergency, but the general consensus is that, and there was a question as to whether the Oversight Committee and the DOGE are duplicate or not, but I think the fact is that you got legislators doing it, you got non-legislators doing it. You need to come up with some happy median in the middle on what needs to be done. But you need eyes in there looking at it, because there's always something that we can't see. And I don't want to get too deep into this, but our Department of Transportation, if you ride down the road today, you're going to hit a pothole out here. Why don't we have somebody from the Department of Transportation riding down every road every few days and making sure we get those potholes? My daughter's car, she called me this morning, and her car is leaking air. And she took it up there. I said, run up there to Casey and get him to put some air in it and check it for a nail. She got up there and the rim was bent. She said, I remember hitting that. I was coming out of Abbeville. She works with in the food programs. She was coming out of Abbeville, and she says, "I remember the pothole I hit. That's what bent my rim."
We
So-
can't avoid them. But do you recall not that many years ago, the county did a study to have they hired Strom Thurmond Institute at Clemson to do a $50,000 study of the roads in Pickens County, and then to prioritize them to see what should be fixed first. And then county council ignored everything in the study and made their own picks on what they wanted fixed. Do you remember that?
I know that we changed some stuff in that to try to get the politics out of it, and that's exactly what you're.
We're making. Excuse me. We're making. Believe it or not, we're making a little progress on roads. 2 bridges on 183 being replaced. Madden Bridge Road between Daniel. I'm just talking about my district. Between Daniel and Central, very heavily traffic road with students and buses and so forth. That road is being widened. The shoulders have been widened. It's been full depth patched. And as soon as weather permits, that whole road will have a brand new cap on it. And that road is in pretty bad shape. Also, we're working on 133 from 6 Mile all the way to Clemson will be deep, full depth patching where there are bad places there, like at Smith's Curve, if anybody knows where Smith's Curve's at. That'll be full depth patched and then capped over. And I think they're going to widen it. They're putting an 18-inch, I think it's an 18-inch apron on either side. So when the new road is paved, it'll be wider, much safer. We're making progress. Helena set us back a little bit because I've been saying that was one of the things I ran on. Eunice right there ran against me. She ran on the Democrat ticket against me, and she'll vouch for me. I ran on roads. I mean, that was the thing that bothered me the most. It was so I've stayed on top of the roads, and Helena has been a problem. Helena washed out a lot of bridges, damaged a lot of roads. We spent millions, I guess, getting up broken down trees. So it set us back a little bit on roads, but we're making progress. To answer your question, it's a long road to hoe.
Philip, while you're saying that though, and I'm not saying anything I don't say to our Secretary of DOT and his staff. In North Carolina, they had bridges wiped out up there. 120 days. They put a new bridge in to bypass the existing bridge while they fix it. We can't do that down here. There's a problem.
There are problems. Don't get me wrong. There are problems. We're making some progress.
Okay. Last question. Well, okay. Well, you said one of you guys had to leave? Well, go ahead real quick. And we'll run. Go ahead. Okay.
I was just wondering, why is it that I have seen so many of these back roads, the lesser traveled roads that have been paved, and yet the major roads, say like 183, is horrible. Why are these back roads being done and not the others?
I can give you a 183 situation. The 183 from 135 back to Pickens, I'm on them right now about trying to get that paved. From the 135 all the way to White Horse Road is getting ready to be a 5-lane highway in there. So that's in progress. It's probably getting not treated at the level. I've talked to them today about Jameson Road and 183, and they need a light up there ASAP. I've asked them to figure out how to get it there as quick as they can. The back roads, a lot of the back roads that you're looking at, there's county roads and there's state roads. So the counties back there may be paving, and you have to look at them, but the counties back there paving roads that you're saying, why don't they pave a state road? It's 2 different pots of money. So that, and without looking at the exact example, but I can tell you that about 183.
I'm Eunice Laymacher. I live in Clemson. I think we all know there's a problem with people being able to afford houses in Clemson. I was on the police advisory committee. Our police can't even afford to live in town, our teachers. So I'm just curious what you're doing about housing. It's harder to build affordable housing in South Carolina than in the neighboring states. I've talked to a lot of developers. It's related to the affordable housing tax credit. It's far more competitive to get the affordable housing tax credit in South Carolina than it is in Georgia, North Carolina, and so on. So that's one thing you could do. But what are you planning to do to make it so that new teachers. So my husband and I both have a salary. We can afford to buy a house. But what about our new teacher that wants to live in the county, can't afford to live here? What are you doing to help housing costs?
I mean, there's not much that we can do when the housing demand is where it is and the price of houses. My daughter that works on a shoestring budget, and her husband, who I don't know how they do it, he coaches children. So, and they just
Neighboring states didn't do that. So developers that build affordable housing, they don't make as much money than if I build it.
you're going to have to give me all the details on that. But I do know that we passed a bill dealing with low income housing and giving exemptions to the property tax on low income housing in a 501c3. We just passed that.
First don't want to come here. They want to go to Georgia or North Carolina.
Yeah.
Because you're
If you'll share that information with me, I'll be glad to look at it and see what options we have. But we do talk about that, and we do have some bills in there that we are trying to improve it. But when you got a competitive market, it's tough to get those low income housing provided. And what is low income housing? That's another question in itself. I mean, the tiny homes, is that what we're talking about? And I'm throwing that out, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I understand.
Was there another question over here? No. You got one? Okay. You ask yours and I'll wrap it up.
This one is specifically for Rex. This is regarding, it has two different numbers in it, but right now it's Senate 106 about limits on alien land ownership. And that was changed from a ridiculously high number to a much lower, but still ridiculously high number of acres. Why is it that foreign corporations, foreign interests can still buy up to 1,000 acres of land in South Carolina when we are losing so much land, not only to developers, but to commercial interests? We're losing farmland at a staggering rate. Rex, you're a farmer. You know that we're farmers. Why even allow aliens to own 1,000 acres? What is the rationale behind
I'm
that?
going to give you, and I think if you'll check our Constitution, I believe it still says 500,000 acres.
It's not in the Constitution, but it is in that statutory law. The Constitution says there needs to be a limit, and then when we look to see what that limit was, it used to be 500.
Well, in the 500, I'm not sure we're down to the 1,000 yet. And you're on Bill 106? That's my bill, right? Okay. And I will tell you, for example, and why would it see that bill hadn't passed? So right now it's still 500,000. It's in the Constitution of that, and that went in there 150 years ago or so. So I mean, sometimes we don't understand the unintended consequences of what we're doing. But when I put that bill up, the first people that came against me was the State Forestry Commission, or not the I'm trying to think, Association, State Forestry Association, South Carolina Forestry Association. And they said, here's the example they gave me, and I don't buy into it completely, but they said that we in South Carolina have large timber tracts that are jointly owned by us and the Canadians, or us and some other foreign interest, not the Chinese. So we got into this adversarial versus friendlies owning property. But then if somebody buys it today and then all of a sudden they become adversarial down the road. So that's where the bait. But the 1,000 acres, you're saying why 1,000 acres? I mean, I'd love to drop it down to 500 or 50 acres or something like that. But if you let's take a BMW for example. How many acres do you think BMW's got out there in the property? And I'd say 1,000 acres, very easy. So what you don't want to do is eliminate a BMW from here and somebody like that. So and then we got it. It was amazing to me because we got into this in debate, and then we got into the adversarial, and then we talked about the Chinese, and we had a committee meeting on it, and we've had the room filled up with Chinese that owned houses here, and I mean I'm thinking they're not here, are they? But yeah, they are. So that's why the 1,000 acres versus the 500, and it requires a constitutional amendment, by the way. I think, isn't that right? Okay, I thought the number was in the Constitution, but
Money into this area.
yeah,
In Chinese interest, Russian interest.
I understand.
Speaking as a farmer, I am just so concerned.
Right. Okay.
Well, you guys want to say something, John? Let me bring the microphone. The reason I'm so insistent about the microphone is we're recording this, and if you don't have a microphone close to you, you don't show up on the recording.
Yeah, my name's John Fizio, and I'm in the huge town of Norris. Since we're talking about foreign ownership, and in the last couple of years, we've allowed Volkswagen to put the Scout plant, or to begin putting the Scout plant in. It's my understanding that they have, or it's the European Union's policy that that they're governed by ESG, and so even if they're investing out of their country, and so that they're required to have all of their suppliers, which could be a lot of U.S. Companies, to practice ESG policies and before they can become a supplier. And my question is, are we going to continue to allow foreign companies, probably specifically from the European Union, to come in here and have that kind of control over our American companies?
I can't answer whether we're going to continue to or not, but I can tell you that if it comes up again, there'll be a lot more debate about it, and there would probably be some restrictions put on it. All right, thank y'all for.
Yeah, I do too. Just 1 second. I'll wrap. If you would like to be informed when we're going to do one of these again, there's a sign-up sheet over there. The only thing we'll ever use your contact information for is to let you know we're going to do one of these. That's the only thing it'll ever be used for. I won't give it to the party. I won't give it to your enemy. I won't give it to your friend. We just use it to notify you. The other thing is, respectfully, I can't let something you said. You made a statement, and this is the Republican Party, and I am a proud member of it. So there was one little statement you threw in there. I felt like I'm obligated to respond to. That somebody in the federal government, some random guy that doesn't know what he's doing, is doing all this cutting, and the Republican Party would vehemently disagree with that. And he is appointed by the president, and he is working under the authority of the executive branch. I know I'm not going to debate you. I'll let you say yours. Okay. You had your say. Yes, you had your say. I'm just saying the Republican Party would disagree with you.
Hey,